Brown Bag Business Chat, lunchtime marketing and development topics to chew on, presented by Blue Steel Solutions. Welcome to the Brown Bag Business Chat. I have Miss Carrie Dils online today. We're going to be talking about how to plan your first WordCamp or really any niche event. So Carrie, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey there, I am Carrie Dils, coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas, and I've just become embroiled in a Twitter conversation that I probably should have kept my nose out of. But anyhow, yeah. Sorry, I made that awkward.
We're obviously already incredibly distracted today. Okay, so just a little background info since Carrie didn't go there yet. We recently had our first WordCamp in Dallas, Fort Worth. For how many years has it been since the last one? Like 8 years or something like that?
I think 2009, 2008, 2009. There were two camps in Dallas. So this one that we just had embraced both Dallas and Fort Worth. So really technically the first one ever for all of DFW.
Awesome. So what I wanted to do was bring Carrie on and talk about kind of how did you get started, why in the world did you even do this to yourself, and give us some insight, because I know there's lots of people out there that don't have a WordCamp or any kind of WordPress meetup in their area. So how can you get started? What are some of the inside tips that people should know before they venture in that direction? So
Sure.
First off, what made you want to get involved with planning a WordCamp in DFW?
Well, for starters, I've gotten to attend multiple WordCamps across the U.S., and I love them. They're awesome opportunities to connect with other people in the WordPress community, to create, networking and learning and business opportunities, and they're just fantastic events. So I was just excited to make that happen locally since we hadn't had a camp in so long. So that was kind of the beginnings of it. I was of a like mind with a lot of other individuals apparently, because somebody else actually kind of got the ball rolling on putting together an organizational team. And just through the grapevine, I heard that was going on, so I got involved.
Awesome. And so what was your role in planning the WordCamp?
So I'll kind of outline the general scope of event planning, and please know that I have not done any event planning before, so someone who has a lot of experience may have some facts to add on. But generally speaking, your organization falls into the buckets of kind of the conceptual planning. So what's the theme? What's the the dates, and kind of those broad spectrum. And then there's the tactical level where, okay, we got to call venues, we've got to arrange speakers, we've got to get funding, and do all that. So my specific role on the tactical level was connecting with speakers and then also soliciting sponsors and all that good stuff.
And who are the other people who helped plan the DFW WordCamp? Because I know that there were several behind-the-scenes folks that I want to make sure they get some shout-outs here for all the hard work that they did.
Oh yeah. Mike Avery, he's out of Dallas, the Dallas area, and he was sort of the grand poobah organizer that originally brought us together. And then from the Fort Worth meetup, I'm one of the co-organizers along with Rudy Lopes and Paula Hill. So the three of us were part of the organization crew. Mike recruited his wife in, Beth, to help. And then we had Gina Kerbo. She's also involved in the Dallas meetups. Roy Condry, and then Paula's husband, Sam. So there was some spousal roping in this one. But yeah, I think I don't know how many names that was, maybe 7 folks altogether, 7 or 8.
Awesome. And so getting started on this, what role does the foundation play? Because I know that, and for those of you not familiar with WordPress that are watching, the foundation is really kind of the core of people that keep WordPress moving forward. and they're very involved, I know, with planning the WordCamps, or at least providing some support. Can you give us some details on what role exactly that they play?
Sure. So I like to think of it like kind of a franchise model of, when if you're starting a business as a franchise, you get all this great sort of pre-packaged support, and that's really the role of Central. So there's a whole WordCamp planning site off of, I think it's central.wordcamp.org, or maybe it's planning.wordcamp.org. But it has stuff for how to do the logistics of finding a venue, what kind of verbiage to use when you're communicating with sponsors, how to set up your website. It's actually a WordPress.com hosted site that comes with all these great built-in tools for ticketing, for for accepting the PayPal payments, forms, all that good stuff. So you start off really with just this kind of package of resources, and then those are distributed to the local organization team, and then of course whatever questions you have along the way or whatnot, there's Central makes themselves available. There were a couple of core contacts I had there that anytime a question popped up or an issue or whatnot, we could go back to them, and they would give us guidelines or answers or whatnot. And financially, just to expound on that a little bit further, all monies run through the foundation, which makes it really convenient. So there's no cash handling on the part of the local leadership. All the ticketing, all that goes into Central's account, and then whenever we need to pay a vendor, we just invoice and Central cuts a check. So it's kind of nice to have a central repository, as it were, for financial purposes. Lessens the chances of me just going to Target and blowing it.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be a step up over what a lot of folks probably deal with trying to plan their locals events, as they have the accounting aspect and managing the funds and a treasurer and all of that. So definitely having a foundation, or even I know a lot of the local technical groups that I've been a part of have sort of a headquarters that helps plan a lot of those things and provide those resources to people like yourself that are looking to put on a local event. So what about, you mentioned the venue, and that they had some great resources for helping you decide what venue you should go with. What kind of outlines do they give? Do they kind of help you project how many people are going to be attending, and what type of room layouts you need, or what kind of information do they give you about the venue, and then how did you guys take that and decide on the venue that you selected?
So there's a lot of complexity when it comes to the venue, and being an unestablished camp, meaning this is the first one for all practical purposes. We were a little bit stabbing in the dark in terms of what our numbers would be. So using San Francisco WordCamp as a guide, they're pretty much, I think, they're sort of the mothership of WordCamps, and their capacity is around 800. So right out the gate, we're going to be smaller than San Francisco. So pair that back. So I don't know that the foundation really provided a whole lot of guidelines around venue selection, other than because it is a non-profit or not-for-profit. The goal, of course, is to spend as little funds as possible. So we get the money from the ticketing and the sponsorship, and guard those pennies carefully, or those dollars carefully. So venues, as anybody who's planning an event knows, are generally your biggest cost outset when you're looking at an event to host several hundred people, or my gosh, even if you're trying to book a 50-person wedding reception, it's just expensive to get space. So in this case, our best option ended up being a community college. I mean, colleges are always great venues for something like a WordCamp. But one of the organizers he's a facilities manager for a community college, and we ended up getting that venue for free, which it wasn't geographically, for those who don't live in Dallas-Fort Worth, it is a massive, I don't know how many, we're several million people cumulatively, probably close to 4 or 5 million if I had to take a stab at it. So there's no really central spot that's going to make everybody happy in a geography that's spread out. So the venue wasn't ideal in terms of location or necessarily even size. We ended up having to cap our ticket sales and we could have had more people what the venue had allowed. But that said, the venue was free, which made it perfect. And allowed us, to keep the ticket cost down really, really low to offer the value of all this information and a cool day of learning for $20.
Yeah, you definitely can't beat that. Before we move on, I wanted to ask you a couple more questions about the venue, but we did get a question from Mark Smallman. He asked if the foundation uses any kind of measure to see where the demand is for WordCamp. So do you know if they send out like surveys or do anything to kind of see where people are wanting to have WordCamps?
That's a good question. I don't know specifically, but my best answer would be that because WordCamps are local events and organized by the local community, Central supports that, but they're not, going to look and do, WordCamp plants, around the world. They're really looking for an interested, active local community, and then out of that, WordCamp grows. So, for instance, if there's an area that might be a good candidate at some point for a WordCamp, I would assume that area already has a strong and active monthly WordPress meetup. If you don't have that in place, then supporting a camp is probably going to be pretty difficult.
Hopefully that answered Mark's question. Going back to the venue, I was really curious about if you hadn't have had that at the campus where we had WordCamp, what would have been your process of going about, hey, can we use your venue, but could we maybe use it for free or for very cheap? Does the foundation supply that sort of thing to you as well, like form letters to use, or is that something you just kind of have to see if you can find a contact and then go about it that way?
Yeah, it's really kind of the latter. So you're working in your contacts. I was not the primary lead on the venue aspect, so I could be telling some untruths or leaving out details. But had this free venue not presented itself, our first approach would have been to some other local universities, just because space-wise and of course because they're places of learning. Those would have been sort of our top hit list. And from there, once you narrow down the type of facility you need, then you start looking at dates. And we were originally looking for this October date, and then through contact with Central, we found out that WordCamp San Francisco is happening at the end of October, and they don't want anyone scheduling a camp within 2 weeks of San Francisco, just because a lot of people do end up traveling for that. So once we had that as a known quantity, then we backed up our 2 weeks, set our camp date, and then of course, that in this case, thankfully, that venue was available. But if it hadn't have been, we would just start, knocking down the list till we found somebody who had date availability.
Awesome. And then I know you were more involved on the actual getting people who would pay for the event through sponsorships. So tell me a little bit about how you decided the sponsorship levels, and if that's something that the foundation helped set, and then also just getting the word out about the camp and the fact that you needed sponsors. How did that go, and were there any struggles there that maybe you learned from in the process?
Yes, to all of the above. We had great support from Central on this. So there are a group of companies called multi-event sponsors, and they're basically, if you've ever been to a WordCamp and you're like, oh my gosh, dream host every or sponsors every single WordCamp. There's a reason why. So there's these multi-event sponsors, and so right out of the gate, in the U.S. at least, you're guaranteed 3 levels of sponsorship, and there's like pillar, and I can't remember the exact names for them, but basically through these multi-event sponsors, you automatically get a couple $1,000 in the kitty to help you kickstart your planning. So the idea is that these sort of national level sponsors come in, and then you supplement that with local sponsorship. So like your company, for example, you're local and you sponsored it, and that's really ideal because we want people who are in this community, who are drawing business from this community and networking in this community, to be the ones that are supporting WordCamps financially, because they're the ones also benefiting back from it, hopefully. So as far as reaching out to sponsors, basically we put a call out we created these sponsorship tiers, and said, I modeled it off of what I saw on other. Are my answers getting too long-winded here?
No, you're fine.
I can talk. We modeled it off of. Spin it up. Look to see what other WordCamps were offering their sponsors. So things like, do you write a blog post about them? Do you send a tweet thanking them? Do they get, table space for, swag handout at your event? So you kind of come up with tiers of things that you can offer back to your sponsors as a way of thanking them. And so I reached out and really had to do ridiculously little work. I don't know if maybe because it had been so long since we'd had a camp here, but people were just absolutely eager to offer their support, which blew me away. Like, I actually had to say, I can't take any more sponsorship dollars. Like, I can't spend your money. I'm so thankful that you want to support us, but literally, and the way these budgets work, the idea is to spend every penny you have, or be clearly come in within budget, and then whatever's not left over in the budget goes back to WordCamp Central to help fund other WordCamps. So imagine, we've started getting a lot of international camps, or maybe or even some camps in the U.S. that are just harder to fund, or maybe don't have that many local businesses that are willing to step up and sponsor. So that's where those get recycled throughout the WordCamp community. But yeah, I'm hoping next year, I'm crossing my fingers that it'll be such an easy task to bring in sponsors, but I was shocked. It was awesome.
So you plan on being an organizer for next year's WordCamp again?
Well, I don't know. You hear parents say that after, don't ask me within 24 hours of having a baby if I'm ever going to have another child, because right now the answer is no, but, ask me again in 2 months and maybe I'll, the pain will have subsided, and yeah, I could do that again. So that was my long-winded way of saying I don't know yet. I will be involved in some capacity. I don't know if it will be in the same capacity though.
So it was pretty time-consuming for you?
It was. There were some weeks where it was a full-time job.
Oh, wow.
And it's, anytime there's just a lot of details to coordinate. So you're, when it comes to, once you even narrow down to the speakers that you'd like to invite to your camp, now we had 25 speakers. So now there's communication with 25 humans and helping them coordinate the things they need and be a resource to them. And then of course on the sponsorship end, you're now communicating with all these humans. And anytime you get a bunch of humans in the room, there's bound to be layers of complexity. But really, it was just the details. It wasn't like any of it was hard. It was just all the little I's you've got to dot and T's you've got to cross that that take up time. And the biggest waves of that were initially, like when we did the sponsorship call, somebody says, I want to sponsor. What level do you want to sponsor? Okay, we agree. I send an invoice. They pay the foundation. Then I've got to go back and check a budget spreadsheet to confirm the payment. There's just a lot of little steps in there. And again, none of it's rocket science. It's just details. So that initial wave of settling the speakers and the sponsors was a big time consumer. And then there was just this beautiful lull of, just kind of waiting for camp to happen. And then, about 10 days out from camp, it just all starts coming, you've got all your loose strings that you need to tidy up, and it was a little bit of a madhouse, but yeah.
So what did you learn along the way that maybe was like a big mistake that you made, or a misstep, or just something that if someone else had been guiding you through this process that you wouldn't have done, that you can pass along to people who might be planning WordCamps in their communities?
So many things. We spent I got several things.
Who knows where to start?
One thing is don't major on the minors. So early on, we were a year out and discussing, the cute names that we were going to give to our sponsor levels. That's a minor detail. It's not worth wasting people's time over early on. So I would say focus on the really big, nail down your date, nail down your venue, nail down those huge details, and then don't fret about whether the logo has a drop shadow on it, or that kind of stuff. Secondly, prepare and just know that regardless of all those details you've worked hard to make perfect, at least 50% of them will go wrong or not the way you planned, and that's okay. So just know that there will be some flying by the seat of your pants. Inevitably, a projector won't work, or a speaker will be sick, or the venue catches fire. That didn't really happen, but
I was going to say, you guys covered that one really well.
But there were so many things that happened at the last minute that were just utterly out of our control. And you just have to kind of let go and say, you know what, it's here. Let's, we're just going to roll with it. So I don't know it wasn't necessarily a mistake to avoid. I just didn't know that ahead of time. I figured it would go like we planned.
Yeah. That was definitely some wishful thinking. Well, I think you guys pulled it off beautifully, so I was very excited to be part of it. We're running a little close to our time here, so is there anything that we didn't talk about that you feel like you need to impart your wisdom to other folks who might be planning events coming up?
Oh gosh, no, I don't really have any great I got no pearls of wisdom.
We did get one other question about, in spreading the word about WordCamp, who might be a good participant and otherwise might not hear about WordCamps? And how can you explain the concept to people who maybe aren't familiar yet, but would definitely benefit?
Yeah, so if you go to central.wordcamp.org, they have like a little 1 or 2 sentence definition of what the purpose of a WordCamp is. That would be really a starting point if you're trying to explain it. So basically, it's a gathering that's meant to educate, support, create a learning environment for people, for diverse people. Everyone's welcome. It's open source software, and we're basically here to promote our understanding and usage of WordPress. In terms of who might be a good participant that might not hear about it, I really like that question, and I'm not exactly sure of the answer, but I think within the WordPress community, which is I love the WordPress community, but we're very kind of in a little bit of a bubble, and so I think looking to people who are either on the fringe of the WordPress community or maybe in a different community altogether, meaning that maybe they do content marketing. Maybe they do, they're social media gurus or whatever, but they're, WordPress in their bag, but they still would have great knowledge that they could bring to a WordPress audience. Kirk Bowman, who was one of our speakers at the DFW camp, is somebody. His expertise lies in pricing and project pricing. And though he works a little bit in WordPress, that's not really his main deal. But he still had a ton of great information to bring to the camp. So I would say, Nick, I don't really know if that's a good answer to your question, but be willing to look a little bit outside of the community when it comes to maybe recruiting speakers or people that might be have something to share, even if they're not WordPress centric.
I think that's a great question too. And after the tickets sold out, I kind of started to regret that I hadn't invited my clients. I've got a lot of local people. It's like, man, they would love to meet other WordPress folks like in the area, get that behind the scenes look, because really, more and more websites are becoming such a huge part of their business. And the way that we approach website development, we really try to integrate everything about the site into their business processes. And it was like such a missed opportunity for them not to be able to be there. So I love that question too. I think thinking about the people who use WordPress in their business, not necessarily working as web developers or designers or writers like some of us do, but who really run their businesses either on WordPress or tangentially to WordPress, would benefit so much. And for those of you that don't know, there are beginner tracks. I think at pretty much every WordCamp, there's a beginner track that kind of helps just introduce you to what WordPress is and give some more basic concepts and really spends time going over the things that won't be completely over your head. And then there's also some great business tracks that everyone can learn from. I mean, there was an awesome value-based pricing session at WordCamp DFW that expands so far outside of just WordPress or just developers or designers. It really applies to so many different people. So I think there's definitely something at most WordCamps for everybody.
And even if it's just a T-shirt and lunch for $20, I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah, and a free water bottle. Got a roof over your head for the day.
Free air conditioning.
I was gonna wear my WordCamp DFW shirt today, but it was dirty, so I had to wear WordCamp Austin.
If I'd have cleaned better, I would have had my laundry on cue.
Yeah, I got up this morning. I was like, oh man, but at least I got that one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up here. Carrie, is there anything coming up, events that you want to let folks know about?
Well, it just so happens I run a little podcast every Thursday called Genesis Office Hours. I intended it to be a technical podcast answering questions about the Genesis framework, but really it's turned into just some great business discussions. And I have a very special guest on tomorrow. Heather, you should ask me who my guest is.
Who is your lovely and beautiful guest?
Well, I don't know how you knew she was lovely and beautiful, but she is. Her name is Heather Steele of Blue Steel Solutions, and yeah, excited to have you on tomorrow to flip the interview. So that'll be 1 p.m. Central, and it runs an hour. And if you can't catch it live, you can get it later on iTunes. But you can. I'm going to ask Heather the hard questions, so you can come back and see that.
Well, that should be a lot of fun. We have just a couple of minutes left. We do have a huge drawing to get to. The Advanced WordPress community on Facebook hit 10,000 members last week, which is just insane. So the admins put together an amazing drawing. We've got 8 different prizes. That number started at 7, and we just kept adding things on. So I am actually going to draw for those now. We started with a hat, but I had to actually upgrade to a box because there are
Can I draw out of your box?
a lot of entries. Yeah, I thought about printing them a day early and shipping them to you, but yeah, I didn't. Okay, so the first prize is going to be 1 year of the Go Geek level hosting from SiteGround, and that is going to go to Nicholas Linux F. Nicholas F is what he put. And we asked the question, what does WordPress mean to you? So I'm going to just read his answer. Nicholas says, in 2008, I started a blog, and it was a WP.com. In a few minutes, knowing nothing about blogs, PHP, or anything, I started to publish posts. Since then, I learned a lot. I'm currently hosting my blog on my server, and I have helped many other bloggers to start. All of this thanks to the simplicity and power of WordPress.
Nice.
Now, Nicholas, you've got some extra hosting space. I better mark these so I remember who won each thing. Okay, the next one that we have is an awesome package from Yoast. Joost is offering the premium, or the complete package, a single license. This thing's worth $299. It includes the premium SEO, local SEO, news SEO, video SEO, and the WooCommerce SEO plugin. This one's going to go to Jeremy Weaver. Jeremy says, WordPress to him means a great means of realizing my dreams, functionality, documentation, support, and great folks willing to share their time and talents.
Congratulations.
I love the answers that people gave on these, because I was really expecting people to be like, open source, duh. Okay, our next prize is one power user license of the Conductor plugin, and that's going to go to Colin Spencer. And Colin says, WordPress is an easy way to produce good-looking websites quickly that the owner can easily update content on. Now we're going to get to the plugin and hosting packs. So our first plugin and hosting pack has iTheme Security Pro license, or actually a 10-site license, one $60 hosting credit with Cloudways, which will actually get you pretty far in their hosting plans, one FooBox personal license, a personal Analytify license, a single-site WP Flat Social Profile Blocks license, and a single-site MailChimp for WordPress Pro license. This one's going to go to Scott Hack. Scott says, WordPress enables me to run my real estate business swiftly. I can make changes on my own without relying on a webmaster. Over the past 6 years, I've learned some PHP, and I'm proud of the journey. I give back by running the local meetup group and helping to organize the WordCamp in my town. Good job, Scott. That is freaking awesome. Alrighty. Our next pack is the exact same thing, except for it also includes one Quick Cache Pro license. And this one's going to go to Andrew Dahm. And Andrew says, it means I can deploy customer sites without having to start with a blank slate. That is the bottom line reason. All right. Now we've got our plugin pack number 3, which is going to be a 10-site license, iTheme Security Pro, a $60 hosting credit with Cloudways, one Yelp Widget Pro plugin license, one Google Places Pro plugin license, a personal Analytify license, a single-site WP Flat Social Profile Blocks license. That is a really long name. And one single-site MailChimp for WordPress Pro license. And this one's going to go to Benjamin Gay. And Benjamin says, WordPress is the reason I am able to follow my passion. I can design and develop my own site and share my passion for adventure and action sports. I can also use the power of WordPress as a freelance dev, and every day I get blown away with what you can build with it. WP rocks. Cliche, but true. I think that might be my favorite answer so far. Okay, our next one is going to be one iTheme Security Pro 10-site license, the $60 credit with Cloudways, one FooCapture subscription. If you haven't seen FooCapture, it is awesome. If you do a lot of screen captures and screenshots in your blog posts, it's awesome. Yeah. One personal Analytify license, one single-site WP Flat Social Profile Blocks license, and one single-site MailChimp for WordPress Pro license. This one's going to go to Katie Barton. Katie says, WordPress to me is a giant stepping stone that opens doors and possibilities into a whole new world. The world of open source. The connections I have made in the WP community are priceless. I'm very thankful to have access to such an amazing platform. And our very last winner is going to get the iTheme Security Pro 10-site license, the $60 hosting credit with Cloudways, one FooBox business license, a Yelp Widget Pro plugin license, one Google Places Reviews plugin license, a personal Analytify license, a single site WordPress flat social profile blocks license, and one single site MailChimp for WordPress Pro license. These are all listed on my website too, because I know it's
some serious stuff.
Huh?
These are some big old giveaways.
Yeah, this is at $2,300 plus is what we're giving away today. It's really awesome. So this one's going to go to Pratik Shriv. I can't say your name. So sorry. I'll email you if you won this. I eat, sleep, and drink WordPress. WordPress is my livelihood. So congratulations to everybody who won. If you didn't win, sorry. Maybe next time. I do want to just say a quick special thanks. Michael Bastos started the group Advanced WordPress on Facebook. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go join if you're a WordPress user. And then we've got a handful of people who donated. Some of the people that helped organize and also admin the group are Matt Cromwell, Juice Devok, Chris Wakeman, John Brown, Angel Tass, Devin Walker, and then we've got all of our awesome sponsors. So thank you guys. I will be emailing the winners and also posting them in Advanced WordPress. And that ends this episode of the Brown Bag Business Chat.